Hello, hello, hello.
Hello.
Hello. And welcome to yet another Pokepocalypse. Here, this isn't going to be talking about one of the generations in particular. This is another one of our little spin-off episodes. If you remember the very first episode,
It was just memories.
we're not talking about a specific gen. We're going to try to do some more of these spin-off episodes in between generations. And for this one, we're going to talk about our top 10 favorite Pokemon from the first three generations. We're not going to make it too complicated. I'm going through Generation 5 now as we speak. I don't want to name my favorites and then go through Gen 5 and be like, oh man, I really liked Lillipup.
You really do like Lillipup.
At the moment, because I only have 4 Pokemon, so of course I would like Lillipup.
I've beaten Black 3 times. I actually beat it through 3 times. I tried to beat it 4 times, but I gave up. Lillipup was not my team anytime.
Oh, poor Lillipup. It's okay. Well, so we're going to talk about our top 10 favorite Pokemon, but we're going to start with some honorable mentions, of course. And so what's your first honorable mention?
First honorable mention is actually Swellow, the bird Pokemon, as I mentioned. At this point, the real options, obviously, were you got Pidgey from the first one, you got Hoot Hoot from the second gen, and Taylor, who evolves to Swellow. And I don't know, he looked cool.
Yep.
He was way more powerful, in my opinion, anyways. Learned better attacks because you had a wider range of attacks for him to learn. So, yeah, he was definitely close to being top 10, but not quite there.
There you go. Well, my first one that falls into that particular category, I actually have 3 that I'm going to group together here. Kind of cheat. They're going to be Torchic, Mudkip, and Trico, simply because they are the only Generation 3 Pokemon I could name, and even then, not very well. Gekko-Con.
Gekko-Con. Yes, the 3 starters from the 3rd gen.
Yes, the only ones I could actually recognize and remember from Gen 3. Because remember, I didn't play Gen 3. But I wanted to have a Gen 3 somewhere on my list, and none of them I had enough attachment to actually put them in top 10, so I'm going to keep them as honorable mentions.
That works. My last honorable mention is actually Heracross.
Oh.
From Gen 2. You know who Heracross is, right?
A decent bug. Yeah.
Yes, he's actually bug fighting, which is pretty awesome. And he can learn, actually, starting from the Gen 3, obviously. They introduced a attack called Aerial Ace. I believe I went over that. It's super strong. Automatically hits. He can learn it. Yeah. So Pokemon who are super effective against him, he can learn attacks that can hurt them even more so. So, I mean, he was a really good Pokemon. Not having a lower stage and not having an evolved form usually affects my personal attachment to having him on my team as well, because I like having Pokemon evolve. It kind of makes me feel like it's Pokemon.
Yeah. Well, hopefully it's something that the Mega Evolutions can address. We talked about some scenarios that might help out on. Continuing on, we're going to go with the very first, my bottom. Number 10 is actually Clefairy.
Really?
Yes. Now, we had this conversation before. I liked Clefairy back before Clefairy was cool. By that I mean,
Clefairy's never been cool and never will be.
By that I mean before the show, before anyone even knew who Clefairy was, I had a Clefairy. I caught it in Pokemon Blue, in the, I'm going to get this name wrong, the Moonstone Caves?
Moonstone Cave? No.
What's it called?
I feel horrible. Mount Moon. That's
Mount Moon.
That's what it was.
If you remember, Mount Moon was nothing but Geodudes and Zumbats, but there was a handful of areas where very rarely you can run to a Clefairy.
Yeah,
that blew my mind.
I believe Paris was like another random Pokemon spot in there.
That blew my mind, and so I caught one, and I thought to myself, this Pokemon's super rare. It's got to be good.
Pretty hard.
I kept it on my team, and in fact, I remember having it, Clefairy, then later Clefable, actually on my team for first run through. By the time I did my second run through, I realized though, A, most of the normal types aren't very good, and B, this normal type specifically was not very good at all. I think I learned one really decent attack towards the end of its Clefable life, but other than that, it was pretty weak sauce. That's why it's only at number 10. I have a special attachment to this Pokemon. Before the show even existed, I had attachment to this Pokemon, and come to find out, originally, Ash, for the TV show, was not going to have a Pikachu. He was going to have a Clefairy, and it changed to Pikachu because Clefairy scored very high in its markability towards girls, but Pikachu scored very high in its markability to both boys and girls. True story.
That's pretty legit. I'm super glad they got Pikachu instead.
No, you saying that, but
I think it's because I grew up with Pikachu.
If we had Clefairy, I would be like, Clefairy!
Clefairy! Screw that Pikachu, who that?
Stupid fat rat.
See,
it would have always been fat if
not only that, but I just realized
Clefairy probably would have gotten skinnier. Skinny Clefairy. Ugh.
I don't even try to imagine that. But like Pikachu. I mean, we made so many Pika jokes just because Pikachu's like the main character, pretty much, the main Pokemon. So
Very clever.
yeah, how would you? I don't even know how. Like our friends, the fairies, we always call them the Clefairies. So we weren't very creative. Shut up.
No. Okay, so you're number 10.
All right, I got my little cheat sheet here. My number 10 is actually Scyther.
Ooh.
He, considering in
The first of the bugs that actually was worth
bug who was actually legit and was decent. Now there's something about him. He was one of the, in my opinion, of course, one of the best designs of all Pokemon. Like all 600, whatever it's at now. Scyther just looks like a legit Pokemon. He looks super cool. He could learn good attacks. He was actually strong. I always wanted him to have an evolved form. They did that in Gen 2. Scizor looks awesome as well. But yeah, I don't know. I don't like him nearly as much as I like Scyther.
Okay, that's legit. Okay, so going on, my number 9. Now,
Your cheat sheet.
9, 8, 7, 6, kind of interchangeable. But the one I finally ended up putting here was Cubone. Cubone was another one that, before the show even existed, I got super attached to Cubone. It was in the Lavender Town. That's where you could find them.
Well, the tunnel getting to Lavender Town.
Yeah.
The dark.
And I picked one up, and it was the only ground type I ever end up having as a permanent member of my team. Normally we choose between rock or ground. You would only normally end up get one in your team. Now, since there's a lot of mixes, you can wind up with both. But generally speaking, back in that first gen, you end up choosing between rock or ground.
Yeah.
And I normally went with rock. There's a lot of really great Golem. Golem was a really good Pokemon.
I remember you talking about how much you really enjoyed having Geodude and always had him on your team.
Yeah. But Cubone was the only time I ever loved the ground that much, and I really, really enjoyed that. So, it's Cubone, number 9.
For me, I have Ninetales. Mm-hmm. I was kind of deciding between Vulpix and Ninetales here, and though as much as I love Vulpix and how adorable it is, I always evolve Pokemon. I'm always more of a evolve form kind of guy. I do notice on my list I have a couple lower forms, but for whatever reason I really liked Ninetales because it kept its cuteness, but it became like a BA. You know what I'm saying? Because Ninetales is a pretty strong Pokemon. And it's also the demon that's inside Naruto. But, you know, it's whatever. It's whatevs.
Leads, of course, to my number 8, which is Mewtwo. Anyone who ended up fighting one of their buddies almost always had a Mewtwo on their team. It was one of the highest levels you could get.
He's super strong. I mean, he's like technically the best Pokemon in the game, the first.
Yeah, he was a legitimate legendary.
Before he became Mega.
Very. So yeah, I always had a Mewtwo on my team. Although a lot of the calls for overpowered may be accurate, that was actually one of the reasons he ended up being on my team. And of course, then after the first Pokemon movie came out, this was a good year and a half, 2 years after it played and beaten the games, that just made Mewtwo even cooler.
Yeah.
So I kind of cemented him on my list.
My number 8 is actually Crobat.
Ooh.
He's a Pokemon who is the last stage of 2 Pokemon that every Pokemon gamer hates more than anything. Zubat and Goldbat. They're in every cave. They never let you run away. They confuse your Pokemon, hit them a couple times, and then let you run away. It's like, I hate you so much. You're everywhere. Just leave me alone. I'm trying to get through this cave. Oh my gosh. And I never actually had it. When I went back and started playing Gen 3 a million times over and over again, I decided to experiment, have different Pokemon on my team.
Yeah.
I eventually decided to have a Zubat on my team. And I got a Crobat. And I absolutely loved it. Crobat is such a great Pokemon, in my opinion. It's got great stats. It's definitely a lot cooler than its lower stages, which I can't stand. It was surprising to me, because, like I said, I hated Zubat and Golbat. They were everywhere. But, yeah, Crobat... Learn to fly. He can actually be your legit flying on your team. He knows good attack. He's super fast. So he's just a really good Pokemon.
There you go. This one here, like I said, for these middle ones, kind of debatable. I finally went with Geodude here as number 7, for reasons we've already given.
Yeah.
For me personally, one of my slots was always either a ground or a rock. And of course, I experimented with Onix, and I experimented with, Cubone and Diglett and all that kind of stuff. And the only ones I consistently returned to was the Geodude / oh my gosh,
Graveler
/ Golem. And so this one, I wrote Geodude on there, but I guess technically it would be Golem. I never was like, oh man, I can't evolve him. I love Geodude so much. Yeah, so Golem would be a more accurate one for this one. I love Golem. Yeah. He was always too slow. Like I said, I was a speed and defense guy. I could never get the speed up to where I wanted it to be, but just he was a really good defense guy, and his attack was way stronger than a lot of my other guys. So,
my number 7 is Mudkip. Obviously, I'm a huge fan of the water Pokemon. I'm a huge fan of the water starters. I put Mudkip here because
you're a wizard, Fernie.
You're a wizard. Oh, don't even go there. Hey, I'm still starting with him. Who knows? Maybe his last stage is actually cool. I don't know. Like, as I did say, I like the Evolve forms a good bit, like a Crobat and Ninetales. But when it came to the starters, what makes me always think about the starters, it's always the first stage. I mean, this is how I am with the starters. Starting Pokemon, it's the first stage that makes it memorable for me.
Yeah, I never think, oh my gosh, that Ivysaur is so great. No, it's
Bulbasaur. Although no one thinks that, because Bulbasaur is the only one no one likes. Just kidding. Yeah, so like Mudkip, of course, has an awesome last stage. Swampert's pretty sweet, but I mean, it's Mudkip.
Yeah. For my number 6, I went with Meowth. If there was a character that I like mostly for the anime and not for the actual video game, Meowth would definitely be the top of that list. I love Meowth a lot. Obviously, a great character game. And if you guys remember, whenever they came out with Pokemon toys here in the States,
they're in the States. We're in Korea.
Whatever. They're in the States. They for a lot of the first run for the talking toys, instead of like paying the extra money to get the voice actors to actually make voice stuff, they just kept them in Japanese and sold them like that. So we actually had a Meowth toy that spoke in Japanese. And you remember this?
Yeah, it's coming back to me. I do, yeah.
And I loved it. I loved it. I didn't give a crap if I couldn't understand what it was saying. I loved it so much. I absolutely loved that Meowth toy. I had a Meowth plush. I had one of the little Meowth figurines. I adored Meowth. In fact, if we're going to make a list of which your favorite Pokemon and the games had absolutely nothing to do with it whatsoever, Meowth would definitely be my top one. I love Meowth. So, but since game-wise, I tried to have a Persian on my team.
Yeah, Persian.
Not very good.
It was like having Eradicate on your team. I mean, like, it's good for a certain while, and once you get to, like, near the end of the game, like seventh gym leader around that time, you're just like, okay, they suck. They can't do jack squat.
As soon as Ash kills it,
As soon as Ash kills Eradicate.
Okay, so you're number 6.
My number 6 is Totodile. Again, I'm going with the water starters. I can't help it. They are awesome. I'm not actually, when it comes to the last stage, I think I like Typhlosion a little bit better than I like Freegator. But, I mean, Totodile's Totodile. I mean, Totodile whoops, but all the time over the 3 lower stages, all the starters in Gen 2, it's Totodile.
There you go. Okay.
Top 5.
Top 5. My top 5, my number 5 is Pikachu.
Oh.
Pikachu
sucks.
I remember after the show came out, of course, everyone wanted a Pikachu on the team. I always made it into a Raichu.
Same here.
So if you're going just by games, Raichu would be here instead of Pikachu. But, of course, for the same reason, the toys, the plushies, the T-shirts, the hoodies, everything related to Pikachu. I love Pikachu as much as every little kid our age during that time. Pikachu's great. And, but then again, there's better electrics out there to have on your team. I'm partial to I'm gonna say it right. Voltion. I'm partial to Jolteon.
I was gonna say Ultron this time.
Ultron. But I know
you're just getting your nerd wires crossed here.
There you go. And it's too hot in here. It's so hot. How do you stop sweating?
It's the Avengers 2 Rise of Jolteon.
There you go. All right, so Pikachu's my number 5. I love Pikachu.
All right, my number 5. Speaking of Jolteon, is Eevee.
Oh.
I love all the Eevee of all forms. Like, obviously, we have Solway and Silion because it's the new one. I'm like, I don't know how this one's going to work out. But I was thinking about putting Umbreon, Espeon, Vaporeon, one of them here. But I was like, you know what? Screw it. I'll just go with Eevee. Because Eevee not only is adorable, awesome, and is the reason why one of my favorite episodes in the anime, because of that particular one, the Eevee brothers.
And going along those lines, I hope that one of the Ultra forms is for Eevee. That way, if you wanted a strong normal type, that would be
like the Mega Evolve forms.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Just they give it to Eevee, so Eevee doesn't necessarily have to evolve for one of the branched ones. Just itself becomes super awesome.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I'm saying like Eevee necessarily wasn't the greatest fighter, but you know, its evolved forms were just off the hook, man. They were pretty awesome.
You could always use it to fill in whatever gaps you had in your team.
You get yourself an Eevee, and you're like, okay, see, I want a fire. Whoop, got one there. I want a water. Whoop, there's one. Electric, psychic, dark, grass, ice. Obviously, we're going to the 4th gen with those two, but still, it's pretty awesome.
So it brings us here to number 4. My number 4 is Totodile.
Oh.
It's actually the only Gen 2 on my list, if you're keeping track. When I was making my list, I actually brought up the Pokedex. It had all original 151, 152. How much was it?
150. The original 150 plus the Mew, so it's 151 technically.
151. And as I was going down the list and I was marking these down, the only one that I was searching for, I was like, okay, I have to make sure I have them on the list, was Totodile. And I was like, well, why was that? I think it might be because out of all the Pokemon from Gen 2, that whole stage is kind of a blur for me. I mean, I remember Hoot and stuff like that. But Totodile was the only one that was like, I had special attachment to. I was like, it was the only one I remember playing as a starter. I know I played through Silver, I know I played through Crystal, but Totodile is the only one I can remember. So it means I probably kept with him all my playthroughs through.
Dude, it's the water type. You got to stick with the waters.
And he's pretty cute, especially his little James Tota dance.
My number 4 is Skarmory.
Oh.
For the longest time, I did not like Pokemon who didn't evolve or have lower stages. I, of course, eventually grew out of that, and I just like Pokemon for who they really are. No, but
Their courage is bulletproof.
Yeah. Skarmory is another Pokemon from Gen 2, like Crobat, who I didn't initially have. I didn't really catch very much. Skarmory was super hard to find. You could only find them in Silver, and you could only catch them in one place, and it was super rare to find them. So I never really thought of them that much. Eventually, when I started beating the games over and over again, in Gen 4 is actually when I kind of attached to them. You could catch them a little bit easier in Gen 3. And so I had them a few times. I was still sort of liking them, but that's actually when I started to like Crobat a lot. But Gen 4, Josiah and I would trade a whole bunch. And we would be able to set up the team we want, pick a team we want, and then between all the games we had the Pokemon we wanted. And I decided to have Skarmory. I was like, I remember liking him somewhat in 3rd generation. Why not? And yeah, he just grew on me. And I really like Skarmory. He's obviously my favorite flying type.
There you go. My number 3.
The bronze trophy goes to
Eevee. For many of the same reasons that we talked about before, so I won't talk about it too much. But
Eevee's off the hook.
Eevee was great. I loved Eevee a lot. Eevee was great. It was one of those Pokemon that was probably even more awesome in the game than it was in the show, which is saying a lot, because the show would always make a Pokemon look great. Oh, Executor, he's so strong. Oh, Ponia, they're so strong. And you play them in the game, you're like, oh, they suck.
Probably is the dumbest. Okay, Execute is probably the dumbest Pokemon from the original 150, but
we'll have a different video talking about our
bottom 10.
Yes.
Yeah, my number 3 is Absol.
Oh.
We went over this. He's my favorite Pokemon from Gen 3.
Yeah.
He's just so freaking awesome. It's, again, surprising to me because I wasn't much of a fan. I think he was my very first Pokemon I had that I really liked, even though he didn't have a lower stage or evolve form. He was just him. Dark Pokemon. He's just super cool looking, and he's really dang strong for a Pokemon that doesn't have an evolve form or anything.
Yeah.
Like, obviously in the Pokedex, it's just when you see one, disaster's coming. But, it's for whatever reason, who is the disaster? Is he causing the disaster? Is he just there to warn you? Whatever. But, yeah, Absol, pretty freaking awesome.
Indeed. Brings us to number 2, the runner-up for my favorite Pokemon.
And the silver goes to?
And silver goes to...
You forgot.
No.
Okay.
Vulpix. I know you went Ninetales. I went Vulpix.
That makes sense.
I had the Vulpix toy.
Yes.
Vulpix. I can't even do the voice. Whenever I used to play Pokemon with Gianna, I was the Vulpix. I love Vulpix. I remember in the TV show they were feeding Vulpix like onigiri or something like that, rice balls, and so whenever I had rice balls, I was like, "Oh, I'm a Vulpix."
You were a very strange child.
I was a very strange child. I love Vulpix, of course. Since I almost always chose water, there was always a fire type gap in my team, and Vulpix would often fill that gap.
Yeah. My number 2 is Apom. You probably don't even know who Apom is, do you?
No.
Not at all, huh? Apom is his little purple monkey, and his tail is another hand. it looks a lot cooler than how it sounds right there. But he's such an awesome Pokemon. I didn't actually start liking him. Stop that, please. You're scaring me. Again, another Pokemon I didn't start liking until later down the line. They made an evolved form in Gen 4. Mm-hmm. I don't like the evolved form nearly as much as 8-Bomb. But, it's still cool getting him evolved form and everything. His stats weren't necessarily the greatest. They were still decent, but he could learn a very wide range of attacks. Mm-hmm. His special attack was super bad, so you always gave him attacks that were just physical attacks. Well, yeah, he really, really grew on me for some reason. He's a super cool Pokemon, and I will show you a picture of him shortly. Okay. Because you gotta know who this is.
So our number one, actually, is the same Pokemon.
Our gold medal horse goes to Squirtle. Duh. It's freaking Squirtle.
In Korean, it's called Golbugi.
Golbugi.
I love Squirtle so much. Oh, he's so cute. And this is one where he was awesome in the show.
Yes.
He was awesome in the game.
Good.
He was awesome everywhere. This was the perfect fusion of as awesome as they make him look in the show. He's just as awesome in the game, and he's so good.
I think we've talked about Squirtle in Pokemon Memories, just because our first trainer card, and just our first real experience to Pokemon was Squirtle.
My very first Pokemon ever was Squirtle.
Same here.
So cool.
He's just a super awesome Pokemon. He is adorable, and his character in the show is just hilarious. I mean, he's Squirtle. Like, later in the series, I can't remember if it was an episode or a movie or, like, a mini-movie that goes with that actual movie. But something was going on, and a fight was breaking out, and Squirtle, pushes his hand onto Pikachu. Like, whoa, whoa, whoa. He puts out his sunglasses, and is like, I got this. I was like, okay. All you need is, like, an explosion in the background. Him just walking away is all you need right there.
I want to say that was the short between... it was short before the second Pokemon movie, Pokemon 2000.
2000. Oh, that was another good one, yeah.
Maybe, possibly. The only one I ever saw in theaters was the first one.
Yeah, same. I remember that. We all got a Pokemon card.
Yeah, I got a little Mew. And it was the same Mew card that the bad guy in the movie had.
Yeah.
Because he's a Pokemon collector.
Yeah. So it wasn't actually like a training card for him.
Oh, no, that's for the second movie. So we must have seen it in theaters.
No. When we bought the second movie on VHS, it came with the card inside.
Oh, okay.
Now, VHS. You don't even know.
What card did I get in the first? No, I got a Mew card for the first movie.
Yeah, a few of us got Mewtwo. I'm pretty sure I got a Mew as well because I kept trying to trade because I wanted Mewtwo because he was cooler. And Jason was like, "Screw you, kid."
Mew ended up being rarer.
Yeah, of course.
And that's the way it works. That's the way it works.
Way the cookie crumbles.
Exactly. So that has been our top 10 Pokemon for Gen 1, 2, and 3. Mostly Gen 1 and 2 by the sound of it.
Mostly Gen 1 by the sound of it. What are you talking about?
Sorry about that. Again, Jana, JoJo, want to hear your thoughts? Especially JoJo. Did he ever play the first gens? You're looking at me weird.
Yeah, he did. He played them just as much as we did. In fact,
he would have been...
Jamin, you times. It doesn't matter how old he was. I guarantee he was the one who didn't realize how to save, and he played the first part over and over again.
I know, but he wasn't born when I played the first game.
But you're totally right. He wasn't, was he? Well, you forget. I was like 2 or 3 when you were playing the first ones.
True.
I played the original. Josiah started getting into the game around, I think, when second generation came out. But I know he played Red a whole bunch. He played Yellow a good bit. He's played the second generation. Obviously, he's played the remastered. He's played Fire Red and Leaf Green. But yeah, no, Josiah knows plenty, especially about the show and everything. Yeah, he knows more about Pokemon than us to combine.
I know he knows way more about the show and stuff, especially the newer generations.
Pokemon in general. He actually can say the names. I'm sitting here like after Gen 4.
Gekko-Con.
Gekko-Con. Okay, look, I can say the first 150. I can say I want to say I can do all of second generation. I may pronounce them a little differently. Like some people say Nidoking and it's Nidoking. Stuff like that, you know what I mean?
Nidoqueen, Nidoking.
Yeah, some people have a little different accent.
We called them Nidoran up and Nidoran down because we didn't have a concept of male and female at the time.
That was so weird. But yeah, just I can name all like freaking 600 of them. Oh yeah, this is blah blah blah. Who? This guy. You have him on your team. That's how you pronounce that? I mean, yeah. So I definitely want to know about his top 10.
Jano, Jason. I'm sure Jason probably knows way more about Gen 3 and 4 than I do.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Him and I beat Gen 3 almost at the same time. Like I said, he bought Sapphire for me because I really, really wanted it so bad. And he was like, well, I might need it for trading anyways. So he bought it for me.
Pretty legit.
Yeah.
Too legit to quit. So of course, make your own response videos. Please let us know. Make sure to like it if you liked it. Make sure to thumbs down if you disagreed with our very subjective.
Actually, you know what? The four of you who do watch this, don't thumbs it down. If you don't like it, just turn it off, please. we want to keep our record of 0 dislikes.
I know, that is pretty cool. Yes, we need to keep that record going.
We have 32 videos and 300 views. The fact that we don't have a dislike isn't that really surprising.
Shut your face. And make sure to comment. Don't comment just on Facebook. Comment there and comment there below the video.
I feel like we're cool and important YouTubers.
Oh, well, more specifically, so I can get that job at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Trade. Yeah. So anyway, talk to you guys later. Love you all. Bye-bye. Mwah.